Okay, my name is Mrs. Zeldin, and I teach marriage and family class at Portsmouth Abbey, and I'm the unimportant one because I'm about to introduce Dr. Griffiths, who's the important one. But I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent, and I promise it'll make sense. Every year, I've been teaching marriage and family for 3 years, and I think when I was 17 or 18, I read Idea of a University by Newman, and I read my favorite quote of all time, of which I make the students read every single year, and so I want to read it to you right now. This is from Cardinal Newman's Idea of a University. Many of you have heard this before, but it's still brilliant. I want laymen, not arrogant, not rash in speech, not disputatious, but men who know their religion, who enter into it, who know just where they stand, who know what they hold and what they do not, and who know their creed so well that they can give account of it, who know so much history that they can defend it. I want an intelligent, well-instructed laity. I wish you to enlarge your knowledge, to cultivate your reason, to get an insight into the relation of truth to truth, and to learn to view things as they are, to understand how faith and reason stand to each other. Every year I make the kids read it 2 or 3 times, and they give me a blank look. And then the first time I read this, I was 17, and I put sparkly little glitter hearts by it with a smiley face, saying, "This is brilliant." And then here's the next part. So last year I got introduced to the iPhone, and I have mixed feelings about the iPhone. I'm 32, so I'm halfway between being cool enough to use an iPhone versus giving up, because I tried downloading Nicomachean Ethics and Moby Dick while reading it at the playground. Bad idea. And at the same time, my students have now texted me from all over the country. And so now I get such brilliant texts as, and I have to read this out loud because you'll think I'm making this up. Mrs. Zeldin, I just read Augustine's Confessions. It was awesome. I got a tattoo of St. Augustine. True story. I'm not making it up. So of course, Mrs. Zeldin has to respond, where, and dare I ask why? And I'll leave the rest to your imagination. Another question I got was, Mrs. Zeldin, how far is too far? This is at 3 a.m. in the morning as I'm feeding my baby. If you're asking this question, it's already too late. Stop what you're doing and go reread your marriage and family binder. Love, Mrs. Z. And then, finally, according to text message, Mrs. Zeldin, what is a true intellectual? But of course, or what is a smart person, I think is what they said. And of course, it's true, T-R-U, intellectual, and I still don't know where I'm going to go on that one. So then I texted back saying, reread Policies Procedures, page 1, read Apologia Pro Vita Sua by Newman. Yes, the title is Latin, but I promise the book is in English, and it's really good. It's by Newman. So, in light of that, I'm going to bring it back to Dr. Griffiths. Here we have a man who clearly paid attention to both his high school and his college teachers, and then all the way up to PhD. Like Newman, he was born and raised in England, attended Oxford, finished his PhD studies at University of Wisconsin-Madison in Buddhism, and then I'm going to read part of the rest of it, but the rest of it's also in the binder. He has held academic positions at University of Notre Dame, University of Chicago, and University of Illinois Chicago, and currently he's at Duke Divinity School. I became aware of him when I was working on Capitol Hill because of Lumen Gentium, an organization that he helped co-founded, which is to stimulate Catholic thought at University of Chicago. And I also have a crush on Leanne Katz, who teaches at University of Chicago, but that's, so I've been following him since then. He has published 8 books, they're all brilliant, and currently he's doing a book on the Song of Songs. Well, you're doing a lot of books, Dr. Griffiths, but one of them is on the Song of Songs, so I have one final request. Since I am a mother of 2 and I have a 4-month-old, I was wondering if your book publisher would put Song of Songs in one of those board books where the kids can chew on it at the same time, because right now it's really hard for me to read your stuff, either on the iPhone, and the Mac guy thinks I'm a little weird because I have spilled milk inside my iPhone. But we are looking forward to hearing you speak on grammar of assent, and thank you for coming. We're honored.
Well, thank you for that introduction. The Church Fathers often used to say that you needed to have attained a certain degree of maturity even to read the Song of Songs. So it may be that the board book idea won't quite work. But I'll see what I can do. Yes, thank you very much for the introduction. There is a one-page handout to accompany this talk. If you haven't got one, then maybe wave your hand and see if one might appear. So if you look back, you can see that you can get one. This handout has two uses. One is that it provides you with the structure of what I'm going to say. It's always good to have that in front of you because it gives you a sense that this too, yes, even this shall pass. The second thing, however, is that it provides you with some quotations from Newman. And that's always a very good idea because Newman's prose style, as we heard from Father Rock this morning, is beautiful, elegant, and needs to be seen rather than heard. So you'll have some quotations to look at as this talk goes along. All right, I'm going to talk for maybe 40 minutes or so, which should leave us some time for discussion and still to get out of here by noon. All right, so my topic is the grammar of assent. Let me just say a couple of preliminary things before I begin. I've got a very long personal relationship with Newman. Not, of course, that I'm old enough to have met the man, but that I went to the same undergraduate college in Oxford that he did, Trinity College, and first began to read him as a freshman at that university back when the world was young in about 1975, and was extraordinarily impressed by his literary style, his precision of thought, and his sheer rhetorical vigour. And I've been reading him on and off ever since. The other similarity that I would not have guessed at the time is that I was reading him in 1975 as an Anglican and was not received into the Catholic Church until 1996, almost 14 years ago, 21 years after I began to read Newman. So for the first decade and a half of my acquaintance with Newman, I was reading him as an Anglican who thought that he was pretty good until 1845, but then may have made a few dubious decisions. That has changed, and he remains close to my heart in many ways. If you get a chance to visit the gardens of Trinity College in Oxford, you will, if you're lucky, find a rather elegant bust of Newman there in the gardens. I say if you're lucky because Oxford's ambivalence about Newman still remains, and though the statue was made and it exists, it is well hidden. And that's a very good Oxford response to things. You acknowledge something good, but then if there's a problem with it, you hide your acknowledgement, you include it. So you have to look, but it's there, believe me. All right. Newman's essay in aid of a grammar of assent, published first in 1870 when he was approaching 70 years of age and had been Catholic for a quarter of a century, has as its central topic a double question. And you'll see these two questions under 1A and 1B on your handout. First, what is it to assent to a propositional claim? What is it we do when we do that? Second, how do we arrive at such assents? What are the means or processes by which we come to give our assent to some claim we have not previously assented to? Newman's motive in treating this subject is to address confusions about these matters and, in doing so, to show that the act of assenting to Catholic doctrine, to all that is taught by the Church, cannot be dismissed as something dubious, something unworthy of thoughtful and rational people, something to be dismissed as a relic of a pre-scientific and uncivilized age. A handy mnemonic for what Newman is up to in the grammar is to hand in what a friend of his, Edward Caswall, wrote in his copy of the book. I quote Caswall. Object of the book twofold. In the first part, shows that you can believe what you cannot understand. In the second part, that you can believe what you cannot absolutely prove. Close quote. That is, the first part of the grammar shows that complete understanding of a claim is not required for assent to it. And the second part shows that proof is not needed for assent, and may indeed be quite irrelevant to assent.